YouTube, welcome back to another video. And in this video, I'm going to run through what on earth you should be doing over these coming winter months. Obviously now the summer is out of the way, Ibiza has been ticked off, family holidays have been ticked off, the sunshine has been out. It's now getting colder in the morning, darker in the evening, and your shift around training and the reasons for training may also be changing as well. So I'm going to go through what I would be doing and what I am going to be doing over these winter months to get the most out of them. So let's start off why winter is an opportunity. Okay, as I've just spoken about, dark mornings, cold weather probably means less distractions. Okay, especially from a social perspective, mainly probably up until sort of middle of December. I know where I am in England, a lot of people enjoy December, going out, work, Christmas parties, maybe letting loose, enjoying a few more sweet treats. But until then, we've got a good stint of getting into routine and really making some real big progress, which is going to obviously say here again we've got more time for routine, because we're not traveling as much, not as many holidays, not any social events, raves, festivals, that sort of stuff is coming to a close. It's also going to allow you to eat a little bit more without feeling guilt, and that's going to allow to fuel growth. Now, I don't mean by eating everything and anything because you're cold, you feel bad and down for yourself because of the weather. I mean more because this is a time where I would be recommending to the majority of people to go into a calorie surplus, consume more calories than potentially they have been in these last few months, because that's what's going to allow you to sort of grow muscle tissue, which can be the main goal. So yes, you are going to be able to eat a little bit more food going into these next few months, obviously just making sure it's the right amount and also the right quality. It's also going to be a bit more space to build consistency because, like I say, not as many distractions. You can get a real solid routine these next few months. When it then comes into next year, maybe training for an event or going into some form of holiday prep, wanting to look a certain way, you've set the foundation and you've built those sort of habits into your current routine. So this is all about using these next few months to almost set yourself up and thinking sort of, long term. It's number two. It's going to, you can use this. Well, I will be using this, and my clients are definitely going to be using this to lay down a strong training base. So with this, a lot of my clients will be competing in certain different events, endurance-based events. Marathons, triathlons, ultra marathons, even some combat sports. So typically speaking, mainly for the summer sports that I spoke about, using these winter months is a time to get strong in the gym, work on weaknesses ahead of particular races, or even just manage and monitor maybe little niggles, little injuries, because we can use this now as if you're a triathlete or you do a lot of running, volume can drop a little bit because you're not probably in a prep for a race or an event. So with that drop in volume through your cardiovascular training, we can maybe prioritize or maybe increase volume in the gym. So if we've been maybe neglecting certain movements, or we've been neglecting certain muscle tissues or certain movement patterns, now is a phenomenal time to really focus on that, get that nice and strong, turn that weakness into a strength, and that way when things do roll around back into race season, it's now no longer an issue. So I would be definitely using this winter period as the time to build foundation, and that way you can rely on that next year heading into the race that you may be doing. Another thing, obviously, with strength work, I've spoken about getting the big lifts in your sessions. So progressive overload, big compound lifts, tracking weekly. So, I would be logging the lifts that I use. I use my own coaching app for my own training. So I know each week it will show me what I did last session. So let's say I did a dumbbell press for 40 kilograms on 8 reps. The following week, I will be able to see that. So I know, right, I'd like to try and get 9 or 10. Or I might be even go up to the 42.5s, dependent on that rep range. So I'm using it to get strong. That's going to happen as long as you've got your nutrition and your recovery in check as well. Okay, do not expect each week your strength just to go up without monitoring your nutrition and your recovery. Okay, they work hand in hand. Another thing all my clients and myself will be doing is still keeping in some form of conditioning or some low sort of zone 2 aerobic training. Okay, because I'm thinking long term again, like next year, I want to be doing more endurance events. I'd like to do another triathlon and probably do a 100-kilometer run. Obviously, I've done a few 50Ks. I think doing 100K next would probably be make most sense logistically. So I do not want to start from scratch come the new year. Okay, I'm just going to be shifting that focus now. Strength training being the main 70%, cardio now sort of 20 to 30%. But I'm not completely stopping all of that, because otherwise I'm going to have to restart that all in the new year, and it's going to take me quite a while to sort of catch up. So still keeping in some conditioning. Me personally, I'm going to have some higher intensity interval training in there, because that's something I've not done for a very long time. So working my more higher percentage of my max heart rate, not running per se. I'm going to be using some of the rower, the ski, assault bikes, just because it's going to be a lot less impactful on my joints, especially after coming off the back of a big running block. So still holding that, and then I'm going to keep a zone 2 base session in per week as well, which will come through running. So that's typically what I would be looking to focus on going into these winter months. Now, we also, from a nutrition, so we spoke on training there. If we look at it from a nutrition perspective, okay, what we want to be focusing on here for me is growth, because if I'm just maintaining numbers in the gym, body weight, how I look, how I perform, not probably just myself, but probably others, it can become a little bit monotonous and a little bit boring. You end up just going through the motions. Okay, it's always nice to be working towards something and trying to improve week on week if you can. So we want to be making sure from a nutritional perspective that what we are eating is allowing that to happen. Okay, obviously through the winter months, appetite's probably going to be higher. I know for me in the summer, appetite's quite low, which can be good if I'm trying to stay lean, but if I'm doing lots of running, it can be quite difficult to get those calories in. Whereas in the winter time, nutrition, you're probably going to find appetite to be a little bit higher. You're probably seeking a little bit more comfort food. It's cold outside. You want some nice, warm, earthy meals when you get home. So you can utilize that now, because obviously you've got more sort of in your more calories to consume. So I would always be aiming for around about 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So I'm 80 kilos, so I aim for around about 160 grams of protein, and that is from whole foods, not like a bagel, because I know a bagel contains 8 grams of protein, so I'm not really using that because it doesn't have its full amino profile. So a bagel I wouldn't consider part of that 160 grams. Same with like oats, I wouldn't use that as a protein source, as a carbohydrate source. So I aim for 160 grams through sort of your meats, fish, Greek yogurt. I haven't used a whey protein supplement for a while, but you can do. And that's going to obviously allow me to hit my protein intake. Nutrient-dense foods I've spoken about, oats, potatoes, fruit and veg, quality cut meats, rice, all sorts. Get creative with it, but I would be keeping it more whole foods based, better for digestion, more micronutrients, and it's just going to make you feel a little bit better, as opposed to feeling quite bloated if you're just eating rubbish all the time, sandwiches, etc. So one thing is definitely like, don't fear this. Do not fear eating a little bit more food and potentially being holding a little bit more body fat than you're used to in the summer. Normally that's probably the leanest, especially in a race season or throughout the summer, just generally from a body composition perspective. But utilize this winter months that, t-shirts aren't going to be off, because it's cold. So see it as a performance base as opposed to how you look. So track your numbers. If you're getting stronger, that's the main aim. Okay, use that as your main aim, as opposed to, is scale weight coming down, or am I getting leaner, or am I getting quicker, or those sort of metrics. I would be focusing on getting strong week on week, happy days. Okay, building strength, building muscle mass, and hopefully, like I've spoken about in the last slide, turning those weaknesses into strengths. So something I'd definitely be doing and be focusing on. Another one is obviously stay hydrated, same as usual. Hydration stays the same. Okay, you can probably get away with a little bit less, just purely down to the fact of in the summer you're probably sweating more, especially if you're doing your longer runs. But again, I'll be making sure 2-3 litres of water per day, having some form of electrolytes, hydrating in the morning first thing, and then cracking about the day as well. So again, be smart with your fueling. Don't think you can just eat everything and anything, but don't be in that mindset of, oh no, I can't be eating too much because it might put on body fat. No, see it as, this is fuel. This is going to allow me to get stronger in the gym, which is the main aim of this current period. Another thing, discipline over motivation. Now, this is obviously something that is the case for everything, but I'm using this more so in the winter because, granted, motivation can drop when it's dark, cold, rainy inside. You don't want to go out to the gym. You don't want to get up early to go and do your session. It's completely normal. We all go through it. I'm no exception. There's plenty of times where my alarm will go off and I think, I do not want to get up. Or there's plenty of times in the day where, I normally head to the gym for about 11 a.m. and I think, I really can't be bothered today. But discipline over motivation, think of the bigger picture. Granted, like I've said, the weather's not going to help us as much. When it's summer, I've had clients that I've had to say, right, you need to rein it in a little bit. You're doing a bit too much. Whereas this time it could be slightly the opposite. So make sure you've got that discipline, make sure you've got that plan to follow, and make sure you're executing it as well as you can. But like I've said here, anchor yourself with your routine, gym sessions, meal times, recovery, put it in your diary, be consistent with it, have everything in there, and again, think long term. Okay, I would be, making sure again here, winter's that sort of that prep season. So putting in the foundations, laying the groundwork, building the body, building a strong base, and then at least that way, when things roll around in the new year and shifts might focus might shift, then you're in a better spot than you would have been, say, a year ago. Okay, again, tracking your daily wins, training session you didn't skip, good meals and early nights, they will compound. People call it locking in. I think that's a load of bollocks. Just have a plan, find what you can stick to, and ultimately, if your goals are that important to you, you will stick to them regardless. Simple as that. Your mindset is in the winter will determine your results heading into the new year, as we've spoken about. If you use this time to, it's cold, it's wet, it's tiring, I don't feel like it, then you do you, that's fine, but don't expect to progress. Simple as that, Whereas if you do your training, get your sessions done when you say you're going to get them done, meal prep, have a plan, working towards it, know where you're going, then you will be making huge amounts of strides, which is obviously something that you want. And then recovery and lifestyle. Okay, obviously recovery being a big one. I've always spoken about this. Sleep, 7 to 8 hours per night. Another thing is obviously the evenings will be getting a bit darker, so it makes sense to maybe go to bed a little bit earlier. There's less distractions wanting to go out, sit in a pub garden or whatever it may be. So using that 7 to 8 hours to obviously recover properly, you can obviously be able to notice that, especially if you're going to the gym, and obviously just everyday mood. From a recovery perspective, again, sleep's your number one, but you can do things like mobility, some stretching, foam rolling, sauna and cold plunge if you have access in your gym facility. With a lifestyle perspective, as I said, there's less pressure to go out because obviously there's not events every weekend in a park, or there's not a quick holiday down Ibiza for the weekend for your mate's birthday. So this is going to allow you to sort of stack up those wins and build that momentum, that snowball effect, and that once you're in that momentum and you're starting seeing results and you start feeling good, you're not going to want to undo all of that. You're going to want to stick on that and keep going, and that's the main thing. Okay, again, accountability and structure is going to be a lot easier. So make sure if you have got a plan or if you've got a goal, get yourself a plan, Google it, reach out to someone, get an accountability, go to the gym with your mate, make a sort of a commitment to each other, or I would say make commitment to your missus, but training with your missus didn't work out for me, so it can be a little bit different, especially as your goals are probably quite different. Like for me at the moment, I'm trying to get as strong and big as possible in the gym. Most females probably, some of them will be, but the majority probably are slightly different. So just think, but make sure your environment is positive and it's only going to allow you to progress. So recovery, do not neglect it, even in these sort of colder months. And that is that. So there we go. Now, nice little overlap into this. If you are looking for a structure and a plan, I have got a free winter build training guide. So throughout the summer, I had a hybrid training guide, which was all about sort of strength and endurance and combining them two throughout a race season of such. And obviously now heading into the winter months, this guide is a little bit different. It's not as sort of cardiovascular focused. This is a complete guide with your gym program and with your cardio work. But like I say, cardio is just the 2 sessions, and then you've got your gym stuff in there as well. So if you want to download it, it's completely for free. You can head to the description below, just click the link, pop your email in, and you'll get the guide. Or if you want something a little bit more one-to-one, working with myself on a one-to-one basis, then you can book in a online coaching call with myself, 15 minutes for me to sort of see where you're at, where you're trying to get to, and if I can help. There's no cost, there's no hard sell. It's just to see if it's going to be a perfect fit. And again, if you want to know more about that, you can click the link in the description. So there we go. Hopefully this gave you a little bit more of an insight as to maybe what you could be doing with your training over these next few months. And like I say, hopefully there's a bit of value that you can take away. If you did enjoy it, give it a like, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.